The Wellness Show, Episode 32.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyson Bannigan, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Okay, welcome to the show, and I'm excited to have Barbara Rose on the call today. And the topic today is the wellness journey. Now, this is a personal experience from Barbara herself of what's been happening in her life that's led her to be able to tell this story so other people can have, I would think, a much more graceful and hopefully not so dramatic experience themselves. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. Yeah.
That's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was this journey of discovery for you?
Yeah, I have always been a spiritual person, and I had this out-of-body kind of connection with myself. I remember being very, very young and recognizing, my little body and thinking, oh, this is the body I'm in this time. And, I had a dramatic, I was one of 10, and my father died when I was 12. And so my mother had 5 children to raise. So it was a pretty challenging time as a youngster, just moving through my life without a father. When I went off I had a deeply spiritual connection, and real interest in life after death, and I think that was in large part to losing my father at such an age, of 12. When I went off to college, everything was going fine, and one day I was sitting in class, and I was in an engineering class, and everything turned upside down. And I couldn't walk, and I couldn't move, really. And so I was put in the hospital for a week, and I couldn't lift my head off the bed, and I couldn't lift my arms off of the bed either. And I really felt like I was dying at that time. Nobody was really speaking to me about this. This was in the 1980s, like 1981. And nobody was ever really telling me what was going on. And it was all very frightening. And at the end of that week, they had run all sorts of tests, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. So as I was leaving the hospital, they told my mother that they thought that I might have MS, and that the truth would be known with subsequent attacks. And so I recovered, I went back to school, and sure enough, in a short amount of time, I had another attack. And so I had to drop out of school and out of college, which was challenging enough. And I got married and ended up, doing the whole managing to get through my college degree, and I became a programmer and a software analyst. And so, but I always had to work part-time. There were times when I walked with a cane. I never knew when another attack was going to happen. None of the drugs that they ever tried for me worked. Nothing ever worked. And it was a time where you didn't know what the next day was going to be. And I went through this, it actually helped me to learn how to be very present and very of every day. I didn't know if the next day I would be walking with a cane, or if I would be able to walk that next day. So I ended up, instead of, the woe is me, I do think I had that internal strength to say, I'm living this day, I'm going to make it the best that I possibly can. And so that went on for quite a few years. And they said, if you want to have children, you should have children right away, because you're going to be in a wheelchair at the age of 30 and probably dead by 50. And my attacks were so severe. My legs would just buckle, everything would turn upside down. It was very dramatic. So I wanted to have children. So we went trying to have children, and managed to have 2 children, actually. And then my brother called me one night and he said, Barbara, do you have silver fillings in your mouth? And I said, yes, I do. And I have like 12, actually. And he said, oh my God, get them out. And he had just watched a 60-minute show that talked about how people had been misdiagnosed with MS who actually had mercury poisoning from the amalgam fillings in the mouth. And so so I had lived in this false belief that I had MS for, about 15 years by that time. Choosing every life choice from that false belief, choosing to have children when actually the mercury actually goes through in utero to children. Had I known I had mercury poisoning, I never would have made the choice to have children, because they actually ended up getting mercury poisoning themselves, 2 of them. So once I found that out, I tried to go to dentists and say, should I get these out? And they were like, that's ridiculous. I tried to go to doctors. They said, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
I went ahead and did it anyways. And sure enough, I started to feel better. And the tingling and the numbness in my nose, my fingers started to go away. So I ended up having this very slow recovery, but I wasn't being guided by any medical professional because no one seemed to know what to do with my heavy metals poisoning that I was having. So I went through a slow, progressive, like getting better. I was less prone to like flus and colds, and less things would put me down, but I was still very sick. And one time I got an infection, and the infection was throughout my entire body, but I was allergic to almost every antibiotic. So I actually thought I was dying. So a friend of mine had just had Reiki, said she had taken a Reiki class, and that it was healing. I knew nothing about Reiki. And so I decided to call her, and because I was actually desperate. I really didn't think I may get out of that infection, and it may cause my death. And so she came over to my house. I was so sick, and she laid her hands on my sinuses, and immediately my literally things started to boil, the fluid underneath her hands, and the energy was shooting up and down my body. And it was very, very dramatic. I went from crying to laughing to crying. And I didn't know what I had gotten myself into. I just knew that it was unlike any experience that I had ever had. And it felt loving and caring. And I knew that something was happening. And of course, that's all I really wanted, was for some healing to occur. And I knew that something connected with the divine, with this other energy, was actually coming through her hands. I could feel it in the heat and that. And so the next day, I was still very, very ill, but the thing is my hands were blazing hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what that meant. And so I actually was just like, I can remember just looking at my hands for hours, and I kept thinking, this must be God. This must be love coming out of my hands. That's really what I kept thinking. And so that started my journey towards that out of the box. I had always known that medical drugs never helped me. I always had a very odd reaction to it. And so that started my journey towards self-healing. I got a Reiki 1 and a Reiki 2 and began to use that healing on my children, who subsequently got very ill as well. And so my healing work actually was a much of a self-healing, and then for my children and my family. But as I went on opening up to that ability within myself, other things started to occur. And I started to have the energy all around my body start to appear at times when I felt like I was in my deepest prayer. And that prayer was so intense at the time that it would happen, that it would literally almost just send me into physical, almost pain, but I knew that it was so connected to a sense of spirit and connecting with that source beyond me. And so I began to explore that idea of that spirit and that energy amplifying through me. And as I did, I became more psychic, and that just increased tremendously. I'd always been slightly psychic. Felt like I was slightly psychic, things would happen. But that started to really amplify. And eventually, around the time of about 2010 and 2011, I was receiving literally what I call downloads of things that I was to be doing in the world and the ways that I was to be doing it, which was much outside of the typical little Catholic girl that I had grown up with. And so I was shooting out of the box, and the box was falling down very quickly around me. So one night I received a download about starting a business, and I took pages and pages of notes, and I was just channeled the information that I needed. And I went and announced to my husband that I was no longer a systems analyst. I guess I was going to be a healer. And he asked me where my business plan was, and I said, I got in a list of instructions, but I didn't get a full business plan. And I just knew that I'd been asked by God to actually go and do the work that I had found to help myself so much, and it opened up my life into an aspect of which I had never imagined could be there. So right away, I knew.
Interrupt you just for a sec. So what's coming to my mind for that person listening to the show is, and these are my words, and help me out here if I don't get it right, but it seems to me what you're saying is, even when you're in the midst of the suffering and can't figure it out with allopathic medicine, bear witness to the fact that you are on a journey of self-discovery. And in that journey will be revealed the truth of who you are and why you're here and what gifts you are to deliver to the world. So don't give up. Keep looking, keep searching, keep finding the support system that will help you discover your own healing modality and to help discover why it is that you're going through this in order to deliver your gifts to the world. That's basically, I think, the story for everybody out there that's suffering, that there's hope in it. Don't lose faith. That it isn't that God has abandoned you or source has abandoned you. It's actually that you're being prepared for a bigger service to the world. Did I get it right?
Oh, absolutely. And, I know that I had an inherent faith in, I can remember when I first got my diagnosis of MS, I remember thinking, it was incorrect, right? But I remember thinking, well, at least I'm not going to die tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to live my life to the fullest that I can. I had that sense, that hopeful sense of this is a life worth living to the best of my ability. If I can walk today, then this is a good day. I remember thinking, do I feel good this morning? If I did, I was like, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go out and try to do everything that I can for myself for that day. And I think that helped me to begin to be in the present moment and to really be looking around at what I had right then instead of imagining this ultimate death at 50. I still can't believe a doctor told me I was going to die at 50. It was ridiculous. No one should have ever said that to me. I know of miracles, even if I had MS, I could have, healed myself because I believe that. I inherently believe that. I remember talking to my neurologist, and he said, do you want to have an MRI? And I said, to test, by then they had the plaques to know for sure if you have MS. And I said, well, if there's no plaques, are you going to say I don't have MS? And he said, well, no, because there's always a chance. And I said, okay, and if I do have plaques, are you going to tell me for sure I have MS? And he goes, well, no, we can't say that for sure because, you know, there's always some other reason that the plaques could be there. I said, but then why would I do that? I'm going to live my life the best of my ability every day. And when it's that's what I have, and that's a lot. And I'm going to go with that. And he looked at me and he said, boy, I wish more of my clients would, or more of my patients would speak like that. So I think I had an inherent aspect of life is to be lived, and there is a journey to be had, and to look around and be faith-filled in that there is something to be learned and some way to grow and expand in that life, even if you are in a wheelchair or walking with the cane or whatever. And I've had many.
The second hot tip in that. And the second hot tip that from Barbara is, don't get caught up in the medical diagnosis. The diagnosis is only an attempt to understand the unknowable and to try and put in the scientific, rational terminology. But ultimately, as you discovered, you're in charge of your own fate. And you're the one that is both the healer and the rescuer of yourself. Of course, when you bring channeling or you bring source energy through yourself. So that's the second hot tip for those of you out there that have a medical diagnosis. Don't get caught up in the diagnosis, because sometimes the shock of the diagnosis is worse than the actual disease or disorder you had in the first place. So that is important. And then the third thing is, don't lose hope. Always know that the fact that when you wake up in the morning, there's always an opportunity for a miracle. There's always an opportunity that today is the day that you can turn it around. So those are 3 tips from wherever you are on your journey of wellness. Please stick with it, because that's why Barbara's story is so powerful. She's been there, she's done it, and guess what? She's alive and thriving.
Yeah.
So to you, Barbara.
Yeah. I'm so excited about my life right now. I think, okay, I'm 54, so and I can do anything I want. I have all of my physical abilities back. The idea that I'm ill, that is not even there for me anymore. If I have ramifications from the heavy metals that I have or have still in my body, I've found a new way to look at my life and know that my potential for health is always within me. I feel more engaged and more alive when I am being in this place of receiving this incredible energy through meditation, or when I work with people. I know that I'm healing my body through that connection. It can't help but raise up and feel alive again and renewing itself through that energetic connection. And that's what, that's where I'm just like, I think I'm going to live a very long and very, very healthy and wonderful life. And I'm just out there as a testament to trying to help anyone else find ways to do that for themselves. And it really comes from finding that strength, that soul that is really all powerful, right? We really are so powerful. And when we're in a place of pain and suffering, we need assistance to know that. It's like we need someone to hold our hand and say, you are so strong, and then we can start to believe it ourselves. And that message, that's what I try to help people with. I try to help people say, these are transformative energies that we're working with here. We can amass miracles for ourselves. And that's what I try to do, find that place, that nature of your divine self within, and then know that this is an infinite kind of energy, and that it really can't be put bounds on. So don't allow doctors, don't allow even your own internal mind once in a while. Notice when your mind is saying that things are, oh so bad and going to get worse. And even if you don't feel like you can get away from that mind statement, go ahead and give yourself, love and accept that you're doing the best that you can, and maybe detach a little bit from that negative self, spiraling down talk. So I help people out of
I'm just going to interrupt you again because you had another hot tip. Another hot tip, I think, is I'm giggling because I don't know why this show is hot tips, but anyway, another hot tip is don't forget to reach out, that you're not in this alone, that there's always somebody like Barbara there to hold your hand, to be your guide, to be your mentor, to help you get from where you are to where you want to be in your healing journey. So please, please don't try and do it on this on your own. It really does take a community to help you through your healing crisis. So, part of the problem in healing is that we think it's an individual path, and really we're healing ourselves, each other, and we're healing the planet. So it's really a community experience on one level as well. So I just wanted to mention that. Sorry to interrupt you yet again, but more hot tips.
Yeah, yay. Well, and one of the things is that, I asked for help from this person who came over and did Reiki on me that day. We all start from a place of needing assistance and finding something that really does help us. And then, of course, we've been in a state of dysfunction and pain and suffering or whatever it is so long that we want to go out and share it with the rest of the world. We want to share that good news of support, and that there are opportunities to go out there and find new things that maybe aren't on the mainstream now, but are gaining in that regard. So we want to help spread that message for all of these other ways. And I love that part. I love the part of being able to, that's why I think I love my name, The Sparks of the Divine, because I really do love giving people a spark of possibility, a spark of hope, a spark of information, something that makes them curious, and then to go off and on their own path. And no one's path is going to look like mine, and no one's healing abilities, I believe that we all have our inherent healing abilities, but none of them are going to look like me. So what I hope to do is really to support people in recognizing what they have, their unique spiritual gifts, their unique spiritual healing abilities, and going that direction. So yeah,
so you
ask for help.
You do that 1-to-1, but do you do it as a group as well?
Yeah, I have had a variety of group experiences. I've had, I believe that when two or more, I really do believe in that two or more are gathered, that the amplification of that energy is amazing and creates really incredible experiences. So I've had Divine Love healing groups online at time. I've had them in my office where we get together and we have an amplified meditation experience, and then speak about what that was like for each one of us, where we're actually creating a one consciousness, and then expanding that outward, but really connecting with one another in this space of divine love. And then, I've had a Sparks youth program where I've taught young people how to connect with that sort of unseen energy that is so fun. Actually, I really believe in having a fun experience with this when you discover. So I go and speak to a college class every semester and help them to tap into, our energy ball and start to feel it within. One of my gifts, I think, that really helps people connect with that is when people come into my office, especially on a one-on-one basis. I have already connected to them, in spirit before they even walk in my door. And once they come in, they can feel the lovely energy that greets them as they walk in. And then as they sit down, usually, most times I can feel whatever energy sensation that they're feeling. And so someone who's never felt that or had a connection with that, I can say, oh, your hands are tingling right now, or, oh, do you feel the heaviness in your legs? Or, oh, I feel that heart energy. Do you feel that? And they'll look at me like, what? Oh, and that might be their first experience with having that connection to this really, what I would call the source energy of the all, of the collective consciousness. So I'm in that place where I'm exploring that with them, and I'm saying, here, try this, try this. Do you feel this? Let's go do this. And then we come back and we talk about, what experience they have had. Sometimes I work just just chair to chair. Someone will just be sitting across from me, and we'll do just sort of consciousness awareness type of techniques through the energy, and we shift and change, ideas and emotions and patterns and beliefs and those kinds of things through the energy. And then it's table work, and then I also do distance sessions, and I love distance sessions. I do a Sparks energy shot where we actually don't talk, but we set up a time, and I just do energy work for a short burst of time, like a 15-minute, which can be really, very powerful. And we do a series of those, and at the end of that, I'll actually, whatever comes through on that distance energy, I'll share with them, and then they'll share with me, usually via text. We do some texting, and then or emailing, and then at the end of 3 or 4 sessions, we get together and talk about it, and that's really fun because you can get through so much in just a short amount of time. You can get through a lot of really fun experiences and feeling like you're shifting and all of that. So that's really fun. So
that's a beautiful, beautiful technique. It's sort of like the silent sutra, or the silent healing. And the power of silence is so incredibly powerful, which is not really something we understand in our culture. So to allow the source to come through in silence, wow, what a great idea, Barbara. That's really, really amazing. I'm going to have to invite you to my teleclinic, and so people have that experience.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm going to have to invite you to my teleclinic. I host a teleclinic every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I just deal with whoever comes on the call, and we just do healing. So, I think what you're doing is amazing. I do clearing type of work. It's a lot of verbal, but just to have people experience the power of silence and the healing of silence as the energy is transmitted to them, I think is a fantastically wonderful thing to do.
And it helps people to really tap into the enormity of this vastness, this type of infinite energy. I've worked with people in Australia, all across the country, and to pick up the phone, maybe someone with Australia, and them to have an immediate connection, an energetic connection, knowing that we've connected in that way, across the world. It starts to have people allow them, like, oh my gosh, this is so beyond explanation. And really, I try not to get too much into the explanation. I want people to have the experience, and then explore that experience from within their own knowing, not having me have that say, oh, well, this means this and this means this. I want people to begin to really connect with their own inner knowing, and that we can't do that if someone's always telling us what to know. And so I really try to stay in that space. When I speak during a session, I sometimes channel messages. I ask Spirit if they have any information they'd like to share, any loving messages. But other than that, sometimes I try to I let Spirit tell me where to go with a session. Sometimes it is a spiritual counseling type of a thing, because they need to talk. Sometimes it is just pure energy that needs to move. I have some clients, I do some medium work, And so, I have some clients who have lost family members and they're in a grief process, and they really need to feel that sense that their loved ones are still there. And when that's their need, it's not like I ask, but it's like then the loved ones are there. So I do a variety of things, but I tell people I never pre-figure out what I'm going to do for a session, because then that would be putting my own ego into how spirit really wants to come through. And I'm really working for spirit. I'm really working for that. What I know is this divine love that's here for them, and that's that infinite energy, that infinite knowing, not me. So I'm allowing that to come through.
So you're really introducing them to their own divinity. That's really part of what you're doing as a guide. Well, we're very near the end of this show, and Barbara, it's been a great joy talking to you.
Thank you.
The power of the wellness journey, a personal journey of discovery, of going from crisis to healing, from self to other, a very powerful story. So as we wind this up, how do people get hold of you, Barbara, to work with you?
Yeah, well, you can just get on my website, Sparks of the Divine, just like it sounds, Sparks of the Divine, and .com. And then there's a place where you can sign up, and it's pretty clearly, where you can sign up for a session. There's also a playground. I do a energy playground where people can, I believe that energy can be this playing in energy in that field. We can be fun. It doesn't have to be work. It can be joyful experience as well. So I have an submission where you can sign up for my playground, my energy playground, and then get some actual videos and that take you through like a meditation where we can connect with a higher energy with some more playful sorts of meditations and that sort of visualizations, and I take them through that. So and then you can get my information on my mailing list that way as well. So just send me, and I can do a free introductory 30-minute session, and there's just send me an email and say that you want that, and I'll send back a link to schedule that. So there's all sorts of ways.
So all that will be in the show notes that accompanies this. Is that all this will be in the show notes that accompanies this? So that will be great. But do send me the information so we can pass it on. So once again, thank you ever so much. I enjoyed every bit of this. And
this is really cool.
When is your book coming out?
Yeah, I need a book. In a year. How about that?
All right. We'll be waiting.
I got lots of stories to tell.
Right. You have lots of stories to tell. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, theWellnessStore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.